I'm here with Greg Muzilla, Vice President and General Manager of JBoss's Middleware Business Unit. JBoss is doing great and gaining field very rapidly. Can you explain a little bit about the momentum and the last 4 to 5 years of JBoss?
Certainly, and I'm glad to be here in Amsterdam.
Thank you.
We have had JBoss since 2006. We made an acquisition of JBoss. It was an independent open source company. The business has been doing quite well since the acquisition. We have been growing the JBoss product line and the JBoss business about 2 times the rate of the core Linux business. So when you look at it from a Red Hat perspective, it's the fastest growing business inside of Red Hat,
right.
And it's very strategically important. One of the reasons that Red Hat bought JBoss, certainly to expand our business, to grow it with additional products, but more importantly, JBoss as a Linux provider wanted to become more strategic inside of an organization, and to do that we knew we needed to have a relationship with the developers, with the senior architects inside of a company, and be more central to the development of applications, and take a more strategic role in our key customers. So JBoss has done that for us. If you look at the history of JBoss, often some of the early engagements that we had were very small in nature, simple applications, but as companies have become more comfortable with open source, as they've become more comfortable with that initial success of JBoss, many companies have begun using JBoss much more strategically. If you look at, many companies have actually even standardized on JBoss across the organization, in many cases replacing their proprietary middleware. In North America, companies like Verizon, New York Stock Exchange, Euronext, Geico, The Gap, these are all companies that have now gone well beyond their initial use of JBoss to use it much more strategically across the entire organization.
If you name those companies, those are big companies, high throughput, need big performance.
They absolutely do.
And performance is very rare in backend environments. Looking at the facts, I noticed that the kernel, or JBoss application server, has shrunk over the years to a very small, handy size. Can you tell me something about that?
So we've always had a vision for the JBoss application server to be highly flexible, highly configurable.
Right.
We were the first vendor to come out with the concept of a microkernel. Every other vendor then started developing microkernels, and this is back in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. We had a vision to make the product much more plug and play, much more dynamic, and being able to add and subtract services. The concept of profiles, which is now part of the new specifications within Java EE. So we introduced, when we shipped our Java EE 5 certified product called EAP 5.0, it had that first re-architecture. When we did that, we made it a little bit bigger, but we also had a vision that was just one step in the process.
Right.
And so now we are heading towards a release of EAP 6.0, which is based on a project called JBoss Application Server 7. This has we've progressed the architecture. It's something called a microservices container, which is a very, very lightweight container on top of a JVM. But the interesting thing here is that you can plug and play services dynamically into that container. So easily be able to configure the application server to a very small footprint. At JBoss World, one of our key trade shows in the US, we made a demonstration of AS7 running on plug computers. So the footprint is so small that we can run it on a plug computer, we can run it on a mobile device, but you can scale it out and you can add these services very easily.
That means that system administrators only have one system to care about. And as statistics in IT learn, if you have to maintain two platforms, that's quadruples the effort. So if you reduce the platform by a factor of 2 or 3, you get 4 times less effort, even more.
Absolutely. We came up with a strategy called JBoss Open Choice. And we introduced this strategy. It was part of the evolution. It was part of developing the architecture. But the strategy is about being able to support a number of different APIs, a number of development frameworks, component models. So at the core, though, is that single platform. So you're still running with that one runtime, that one container that could be using multiple services like messaging, transactions, caching, distributed, clustering, but use it from that same runtime base. We then are the best place to run, certainly Java EE, but we also we believe, are the best place to run a Spring application, to run things like Groovy, Ruby on Rails. So we're providing a lot of flexibility.
Even PHP.
Even PHP.
And what I saw, what I found astonishing is big data databases, NoSQL.
So we just introduced a new product called JBoss Enterprise Datagrid, EDG. And this is based on a project in the open source community called Infinispan. It's a highly distributed caching product that allows you to work with data in memory. So you can load up result sets or a whole entire database or multiple databases into memory. And you can work in a NoSQL manner with large volumes of data. This is very important for cloud, because if you're going to do a cloud-based deployment or create platform as a service, you want elasticity. You want to, you will be dealing with large data sources, and you don't want to write back to a database every single time you need to do something.
Right. As you describe it, that's something that's probably out of scope for most of the companies.
I think today,
to do it themselves.
Today, companies are either buying a proprietary solution and beginning to experiment. Some of the proprietary solutions in the marketplace are extremely expensive.
Right.
They're not standards based, and they're difficult to deploy. So we've submitted a JSR into the Java community. We intend to make this a standard. It's already gone through the first level of approvals. So it'll be a standards-based, it'll be easier to deploy, and since it's open source, it'll be more flexible and more economical for companies.
Absolutely. What will bring the future in this field?
The future, a couple different things. Certainly cloud computing is extremely important, and we at Red Hat, we have 2 offerings, one called Cloudforms that was announced about 30 days ago, and OpenShift. Cloudforms is our infrastructure as a service offering for helping one create a private cloud, and we are also offering that to public cloud providers that are standing up clouds publicly for their customers. OpenShift is a platform as a service offering. It's a public cloud that we have established. It makes it very easy for a developer to create an application, and we allow that developer then to deploy that application through OpenShift to any number of clouds, and they can also take workloads from that cloud and move it back on-prem, or take on-prem apps and move it into the cloud. The engine behind OpenShift is JBoss, and we are using the whole portfolio of JBoss and offering not just the container, but a number of services like messaging, like our ESB service for integration, like our portal technology for user experience. So this makes it unique in the marketplace relative to some of the current PaaS offerings, which are only focused on the container.
Yeah. Can you tell me something about self-servicing, self-provisioning?
Self-provisioning? That would be, I mean, that's certainly a part of Cloudforms for helping one create an image and making these images available to deploy an application. In OpenShift, the self-provisioning aspects are things like the abstraction that OpenShift naturally provides that allows a developer not to worry about the configuration of the application server, not to worry about the configuration of the data store, but have those available as services the developer then just writes their code and gets their application up and running, and all the quote-unquote operational aspects and provisioning aspects have been handled for them automatically within the platform.
Apart from happy developers, this has a profound influence on efficiency of development departments. That's what I hear in the market. You probably agree with that too. Can you quantify that?
Can I quantify it?
Yeah, can you quantify it?
We haven't done any benchmarks that can quantify the savings, but I think in terms of, if you roughly, maybe factor of 2 or 3 times the speed, we've seen some rough estimates that are maybe 2 to 3 times the speed of a normal development cycle to get something up and running. We've seen examples where simple applications can be up and running in several hours through something like OpenShift, rather than days or weeks. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Other thing I got very interested in is the Delta Cloud API.
Yes.
Can you tell me about
So
that?
Delta Cloud API is, I think, is a very important technology for the industry as a whole. It provides a cloud API that will bridge a number of proprietary APIs. With Delta Cloud, our philosophies at Red Hat have been to create open standards and to publish those into the marketplace. So Delta Cloud, the Delta Cloud API, we are working through the IEEE, the DTMF, to create this as a cloud standard. We've had a number of vendors already support this, and we expect companies and other vendors to actually implement Delta Cloud as well. Now, the benefit behind Delta Cloud is that most cloud environments today, whether it's EC2 or other environments, have a number of proprietary APIs that one needs to work with to use that cloud. Our philosophy is that the API should be open, and you should be able to take workloads that are in one cloud and move them to another. Delta Cloud allows one to bridge all these various proprietary APIs right to the Delta Cloud API, which will be a standard, and then it's portable across a number of different clouds. We're trying to prevent lock-in.
Okay, to conclude the interview, can you tell us something about your PaaS offerings?
So our PaaS offerings,
Right.
The name of the PaaS offering is OpenShift. It is, there's 3 different flavors to OpenShift. There's something called Express, which provides the highest level of abstraction. It's a free, no charge offering for developers to allow them to do rapid prototyping to get applications up and running. The next offering is called Flex. Flex will allow one to do more configurations. It will allow one to configure for things like scale and performance, and be able to deploy their application to a variety of clouds, including EC2. And then Power is the third offering. This provides the greatest degree of flexibility in terms of the greatest amount of configuration for deployment.
Yeah. So if you can come to a conclusion, that's an offering that spans from the small single-handed developer
all the way to production
all the way,
quality. Yes.
Right, in the enterprise.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.